Hi guys, this is Linda. I wanted to do a video on my Manacapuru angelfish. The reason I wanted to do this video is I noticed some interest in my little short Manacapuru videos where I just show them growing up with just a little music in the background. And since there was some interest, and when I say interest for me is like 300 views because I'm not pushing my channel, I'm not trying to grow this, I'm not looking for subscribers. So for me, if I get 300 views, that's a lot. And I got several likes, which is nice. Thank you for liking it. But I thought, well, if there's people watching my little videos, then there must be some interest. So let me just throw some information out to help other folks out. So I want to preface this by saying this is more for beginners. So if you are an experienced angelfish keeper, if you have kept and bred wild strains before, you're probably going to find this kind of boring, and if you want to click off, that's cool, I understand. But if you're a beginner, I'm going to dive into a few things us beginners need to know to keep these fish, and some resources that I found online to help you along. So the first thing I want to start off with is where I bought them from. If you're in the US, this will be meaningful to you. I bought them from Angelfish Paradise in Pennsylvania. Wanted to give a little shout out to that seller because he deals with wild strains. He seems to be extremely knowledgeable. He also takes his angelfish to angelfish shows, and his angelfish get judged on their color and their body form and all that good stuff. So he's I would consider a very serious, large hobbyist. And I say hobbyist because I think he has another business or job that he does. He doesn't make his entire living off angelfish. But if you go to his Facebook page, you're going to see what I'm talking about. He's got some gorgeous fish, and he knows what he's doing. These fish are about 5 months old now. I got them when they were about 2 months old. They were between nickel and dime size. And I am super happy to report that they're already coloring up. They actually started coloring up a few weeks ago, which is kind of early according to what I was told. They usually don't start showing color till they're 6 months. And these guys aren't even quite 5 months yet. They will be 5 months in about a week. So super happy with that. It makes me feel like what I'm doing, I must be doing something right, or they wouldn't be coloring up. The other thing I wanted to go over with you guys, especially if you're new to wild strain angelfish or even just breeding in general, you're going to hear people refer to these fish as F1, F2, F3 generation. Quick explanation for those who don't know what that is. So these fish are F2. What that means is they are the second generation that was born at Angelfish Paradise in an aquarium. So the wild caught fish are these little guys' grandparents. F1 is the first generation. These are F2. The next generation will be F3. I like F2, F3, especially for someone like myself who's not super experienced with wild strains. I have kept domestic strains and actually bred them just for fun, but this is my first wild strain. The reason I like F2 is we've got a couple of established generations that can live in aquariums. And I'm talking about an aquarium like mine, which is a 40-gallon breeder. Now, I do take really good care of them, but I don't have a huge tank with auto water changing systems and all that good stuff. And most of your average aquarium keepers don't have that kind of setup. So F2, F3 is good. These guys are definitely pure Manacapuru because, again, this breeder knows what he's doing. He doesn't, if he's going to cross them, he'll tell you they're crossed. But these aren't. These are purebred Manacapuru. Feeding, another important aspect, because more than likely, when you buy these angelfish, you're going to get them at nickel, dime, maybe quarter size. So they're babies. They're real little. So you're going to need to feed them at least 4 times a day. And the way I feed them is, of course, very small food. I got actually some hatchery food, and also grind up pellets that it's small enough that it's easy for them to eat. And you feed them 4 times a day at least, but you want to feed them small meals. So you have to watch them eat, and then I watch them eat just till their little tummies are plump. And you can see their little tummies are rounding out. then I stop because, as we know, angelfish are prone to bloat. The other shout out I want to give is I recently started feeding for another species of wild caught fish I have, New Life Spectrum Optimum Community Flakes. And I know that's a that's a mouthful, but I have to say those flakes rock. And the reason they do is they have a really nice profile of protein to vegetable content. And it's actually important even for our more carnivorous fish that they get some veggies in their diet. So my angelfish here and all my fish go nuts for those flakes, and they're doing really good on it. And because the way they kind of like get really soft in the water, super easy for them to eat and digest as well. So that's another thing. If you don't have those flakes, you might want to add them into your rotation. The next topic we want to touch on, of course, is really important, which is your water, because fish live in the water. So we got to make sure it's the right kind of water parameters, right? These guys come from the Manacapuru River, which is a large tributary to the Amazon in South America. So we can surmise that they're coming from water that is more acidic, definitely on the warmer side, and it probably has some tannins in it at least. So I am keeping my fish at a pH. Now I'm lucky because my pH does this by itself, 6.5 to 6.8. But, 7 and under, you should be fine with them. But you definitely want to be cautious if you're running anything over 7 on your pH. Temperature, per Angelfish Paradise, I'm keeping them at 81. And they're doing great at 81. And it stays rock solid, and they're happy, and they're eating, and they're growing. The other thing we need to talk about water quality is water changes. These guys put hormones into the water column, and I've been studying this a great deal because the Manacapurus and a lot of the wild strains get larger than our domestic strains. And I want to make sure these guys reach their growth potential and do not become stunted. And what I have learned is that these fish secrete hormones into the water column. And if those hormones build up in the water column, it actually, their own hormones basically, cause them to stop growing. It will create a stunted fish, and we don't want that. So on top of just keeping the water really good quality, you need to keep up with the water changes to make sure that you don't get too much of that hormone building up in the water column. So I do water changes every day with these guys. Now, when they're pretty much full grown, you can back off on that a little bit. But when you get them as babies like I did, do the water changes, guys. Super important, okay? I wanted to share with you a really good video resource also that I found. It is produced by the Tropical Fish Hub, and it's called A Guide to the Manacapuru Angel. It's a very good video. The gentleman who puts it out seems to be super knowledgeable. He's also kept and bred many different wild strains, and he goes over quite a few important details about this fish. So check it out. I'm going to link that video down in the description details, okay? The last thing I wanted to cover, and I was just checking my list here so I don't forget anything. The last thing I want to cover is the goals for these fish. My hope is to transfer these into my 66-gallon South American biotype. I call it biotype because it's not a true biotope. I put the plants in there that'll grow in my water, and not all of my plants come from the Amazon, and some of them are doing good and some aren't. But ultimately, I want these fish to be in my display tank. They are supposed to be a more docile species of angelfish. We'll see. They're still young. Right now, I haven't seen any aggression, and I watch them a lot. But they are reported to be far less aggressive than our domestic strains. The domestic angels can be really mean. So I'm hoping that when I put them in there, that they will do fine, and that they'll get along with the tetras, and that the tetras won't nip them, because if you can see on the video, you might be able to see it. They have lovely little fin extensions off of their rear fin. which for some reason the name of that fin is escaping me at the moment. So anyways, I know what a caudal peduncle is, and now I'm forgetting what that tail, oh, tail fin. I guess it's tail fin. Okay, so extensions off the tail fin. And you can see that now right there. See? It's very pretty. And I'm just scared to death that the tetras are going to nip at it. But if it doesn't work out in my big tank, in my 66 gallon, I've got this 40 gallon. I'm going to keep it up and running, keep it cycled. So I have backup plans and backups to my backup plans because I love these fish. I have to say these fish have fast become the favorite fish I have ever kept, and I'm not sure what it is about them. I think they're a little more graceful in their form than some of our domestic strains, and yet they're still very beautiful. They're not as flashy as, say, a really high coverage koi angel with really bright orange, but they have this natural orange coming in, and they're just gorgeous, and their little personalities are adorable, and they're little piggies. They love to eat. I put the Amazon frogbit in there, and they've been munching on the Amazon frogbit roots. So I put the Amazon frogbit in there just to help it grow out a little bit, and then I come and I'm like, what did you guys do? You ate all the roots. But now I just put it in there because if they want a salad, they can have a salad. It's fine with me. So anyhow, guys, that's the goal. I'm a little nervous about putting them in my display tank because I've gotten quite attached to them, and I love how beautiful they are and how they're developing. But if I don't put them in my display tank, then I'm going to need to get a bigger tank for them here, and I just don't have the funds for that right now. So we'll figure it out. Anyhow, if you've made it all this way to the end of the video, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found some information that will be helpful to you if you're thinking about getting these Manacapurus. If you have some successful experience with domestic strains, I say go for it. Just make sure you have a decent sized tank to grow them out in because you're probably going to get them as babies. Make sure you do all the things I mentioned earlier, and you should be successful with them. They're a really lovely fish, and I'm really glad I got them. All right, guys, that'll do it. I hope you've had a beautiful day, and I hope you take time to enjoy all your beautiful fish tanks. You take care now.